All right, retro rivals.
Hey everybody, we're gonna do shit.
We're gonna do some shit.
Some shit.
That's disgusting.
I want to do some shit. Samantha Azira here. Recently, Retro Rivals did an episode where they talked about 10 things that fuel their video game collecting, and I wanted to give my 2 cents in, so this is my video response. So let's get the obvious one out of the way. Nostalgia. I am crazy nostalgic for multiple consoles and multiple games. Let's start off with the Super Nintendo, the GameCube, and pretty much the entire Pokemon franchise. When I was 9 years old, Pokemania was in full effect.
Good.
Pokemon.
And so when I got my Kiwi Green Game Boy Color and my Pokemon Yellow version, I was hooked. I was watching the TV series after school. We were going to Burger King every chance my mother would let me to get the toys and collect the Pokeballs with the gold cards in them. I mean, I'm just crazy nostalgic for all of this. The Super Nintendo specifically, because when I was a child, that's the console I had. The NES was my first console, but I was barely old enough to understand even how to hold the controller. The Super Nintendo is really what influenced me as a gamer today. I grew up with Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World. I even remember playing Rocko's Modern Life and a game with Chester Cheetah in it, which was insanely hard. Of course, getting The Lion King, watching that VHS over and over again, and then trying to play the game, which also kicked my ass. But the Super Nintendo, it sits in my game room and it will always be in my game room. I will always be putting cartridges in there and thinking back to those days when I was first learning even how to game. So to kind of elaborate on the display aspect, I love finding new and strange ways to display my video games. I got a shot glass case right here that's got my Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games in it. I've got my closet behind me, or at least it used to be a closet, that I've actually installed shelves into to make sure that I could display my video games like a game store. I have gotten shelves that are typically used for picture frames, I believe, that I've put my controllers and my handhelds on, but you can pretty much use them for whatever. You can display video games on them, controllers, accessories. I just find that I like having it on my wall to easily access controllers for consoles that I'm currently playing. I love getting knickknacks and displaying them around my room with my plushes and my toys. I mean, some of my toys are even from my childhood, so like there's back to that nostalgia aspect of that. I like that I get to be creative with my room and how I could display my video games and my toys and what I can find to make things look just a little bit cooler than they would otherwise. And I definitely do like finding other ways to display my things that maybe other people haven't thought of, and then sharing those things with the people of the internet. One of my all-time favorite things about video game collecting is the experiences I've had with friends. I can't tell you how many times I've had a game night here, and that wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have had a big variety of games to choose from. There are some games that I don't play until a friend comes over and I'm like, hey, you know what, this looks fun. And then we end up having a blast and playing pretty much till like 2 o'clock in the morning. WarioWare Smooth Moves is a big example of that. I had a couple of friends over and we popped that in and we were addicted to the mini games. We ended up playing till 2 o'clock in the morning, and you know, it's one of the good memories I have of one of my late game nights. And as an adult, you really don't get that as much anymore. And so when you've got a collection that you can just grab whatever you want whenever an adult friend actually has a moment to spend with you, it's awesome to just be able to walk in here, grab something off the shelf, and just start gaming for what little sweet time you have together. When you see YouTubers with walls like this, one word comes to mind: addict. And that's what we are. We're addicts. We like to collect video games. Just the hunt of finding them alone is enough to fuel us to continue doing stuff like this. I typically am addicted to looking on Facebook Marketplace because that seems to be the place that has the most deals recently, but I do keep an eye out at thrift stores, and sometimes I do find good deals. But the thrill of finding that sweet deal that you can just immediately go pick up that day and even flip some of it to make some of your money back, that's a high I will always want. I don't have kids of my own, but I do have nephews, and I do like sharing my interest with them because it is something that we obviously have in common. We go to arcades together, they sometimes will come over and spend the night, and we'll just play video games until they basically pass out. They have shown interest in the older game consoles, and they do play around with them when they come over and visit. It's really interesting sharing my past gaming history with my nephews because they weren't alive for it, and most of the time when I'm talking to somebody about video games, they generally know what I'm talking about, or they were alive when it all was happening. And so whenever I'm talking to them about retro video games and I'm trying, I have them play the games, it's a whole new experience to them, and it's really interesting. I can't imagine what it would be like being a current gen gamer experiencing retro games for the first time. If there is anybody watching who is a younger person who wasn't around for the retro games and is a retro collector, I'd really like to hear from you on what your experience has been like. And lastly, you guys. I want to be a part of the retro gaming community. I like commenting on videos and having discussions, and I'm going to continue doing that. But I wanted to find a way to become more involved than I already was. I definitely want to go to more cons in the next few years. Hopefully the thing we don't speak of isn't happening anymore. But if you guys want to comment down below and let me know things that fuel your video game collecting, I'm ready to hear it. I love having conversations with the community.